Today I wanted to highlight a very important question that came in through the Jaye Wellness Studio YouTube channel. And I'm going to start doing this very often. I'm going to use Reddit, but then I'm also going to use some comments and questions that come in through various platforms, YouTube, Reddit, Facebook, when I see comments that really stand out and I think they could really be beneficial. But the question that came in today, or actually yesterday, and it reads as follows. All your advice was starting to come together. Then out of nowhere, I contracted a sore throat and cold because of the weather changes. I noticed my brain fog getting slightly worse, and I'm getting tired of being kicked from the top of the hill constantly. How do you get yourself back on track during this? Well, I wanted to address this comment with the video, and like I said, I'm going to start doing this because I think it's very, very beneficial to all of you out there. But the reason why I wanted to address this particular comment is because this is how ETD turns a simple cold or simple backtrack of your health, something that's common, like a common cold, and makes it more prevalent than it really is. So let me give you an example. ETD usually uses cold to get into the mind. Once it gets into the mind, it starts to make you feel less and less confident about whatever this cold is. And over time, you start to develop an apprehension to getting the cold, outside of just no one wanting a cold regardless, but it really gets deep into the mind. So it starts to really make you feel so out of your element. It takes you out of your balance. It completely transforms what you used to do when you handle the cold to now suddenly you're becoming this person that's like fearing the cold. And not only that, it takes the symptoms of that cold or common cold, and it just completely blows it up, makes it way worse than it really is. But over time, this is what I really wanted to highlight. ETD is not just doing this with colds. It's doing this with obligations. It's doing this with events. It's doing this with just simple things that didn't really bother you mentally. And now all of a sudden, it's bothering you mentally. You're starting to question everything. Is this going to be the norm? Am I going to continuously get this type of cold? Am I going to just live this way? And this is why I really wanted to highlight that, is because I did respond to this question by text, but I wanted to respond by video because one of the biggest things you can do when you're in this situation is you don't want to give emphasis more than what it is trying to give you. So basically you already know the cold is the problem. You know that at this time of the year, a lot of people are getting allergies. A lot of people are getting common colds. Weather changes, the atmospheric pressure changes. It's just something that happens already, regardless if you're sensitive to those type of changes or if your immune system isn't as high as it used to be, you're going to be subject to those problems. But on a normal basis, you would just go through them, continue on with your season, fall, and enjoy yourself, enjoy the holidays. But ETD doesn't want you to do that. And what happens is you start to develop a mental apprehension to everything known that's going to happen regardless, but it's going to put a mental resident in your mind of whatever it is you're going through, and you're going to start developing this anxiety. See, right now it's starting to find a platform, a surface to grow on. And this gets real deep because, see, this is the kind of stuff that if a doctor started telling you this stuff in the office, you might even think he's somewhat crazy. He or she is just, what are they talking about? And it probably would be hard to digest all of that. But hearing it from me, I want all of you to know, as a candidate of the ETD and a person that's gone through it, a person that's been trying to figure out, why is this the way it is? What does it do? Does it go deep into the inner ear? Does it affect the natural blood flow? Does it affect the nervous system? Does it do all these things to you to start to kind of really get in there and just completely modify and restrict a lot of what you normally, the flow of things? So I want everybody to understand something here. The top of the mountain is what this individual stated, and that's exactly what it is. When you have ETD, you sometimes feel like, or heal, I should say, you sometimes feel like you get to this top of the mountain or hillside or hilltop, and then all of a sudden, boom, you go back down. This is why it creates this anxiety. Think about it. If you were in the middle of a book, if you were reading a book, I'm just using the book as an example, and you got all the way to the end, and all of a sudden someone told you have to stop before you get to that last chapter and start over and read from chapter 1 before you finish the book. You get this anxiety, you get this frustration. What do you mean? How dare you? What are you talking about? I'm not doing that. It's the same thing. If you get somewhere where you feel like you've traveled so many miles, or if you're driving out of town, all of a sudden you turn around, you just realize you forgot your passport or wallet, and now you got to turn around and go all the way back home. Imagine how that car ride's going to feel. You're almost on your way to the airport to fly out somewhere, and now you got to turn around and go all the way back. All those travel miles lost. This is why ETD is so powerful. It creates this mystical, unpleasant world in your brain that makes you feel like you've traveled so far just to go so far back. And this video is really to emphasize that you're not going back 100 miles backwards. It's a minor setback that you would have already gone through even if you didn't have ETD. It's just ETD has this real estate in your head now to make you feel that you have to go all the way back to come all the way forward again. And anytime the person has to go back from going forward is going to feel anxiety. They're going to feel very agitated. And this is why this video is very important, because a lot of you are starting to feel you're starting to really get involved in the idea that I can actually heal from this thing. And then this thing will knock you off your pedestal all of a sudden out of nowhere when you're starting to feel like you're okay and you start to have a pretty decent day and you're starting to feel like yourself again. And then boom, you get a cold, and now it creates this mind lapse to now suddenly feel like, oh, I got to go backwards now. You're not going backwards. You're not losing ground. You're not losing traction. You're just simply going through a mental relapse because of what you've been through, and you want it to go away so badly that it's creating these feelings, these thoughts, these emotions are flaring and firing all over the place. And I want all of you out there that if you're in this particular spot where you feel like you've been kicked off that hill, please do your absolute best not to feel that way. You're going to get through this cold or minor setback or this ear infection that you're dealing with or this seasonal problem that you usually go through anyways. Go through it, but take out the idea that your mind is suddenly now going to be subject to having to go through all that all over again. And I want all of you to know right now that's not the case. It's just because once you get rid of this thing through various attempts and various structures of creativity and diligence and persistence, you will get through this thing. And when you do, you're going to get right back to the way you used to be, where you just went through things and didn't have all the baggage that you carried with you into these things. You just went through them, got over it, and moved on with your life. So I want all of you to be rest assured that you're not going forward 2 spaces, going back 100 spaces. It's not that way. Unless you're blatantly not doing anything to help yourself, it's not going to be in that situation. It's just one of the things that the mind does, and this condition doesn't help that. So I hope this video was very helpful for you. If it was, please take time to subscribe to the channel. I try to bring content as often as possible. But in the meantime, I'm going to step out of the Jaye Wellness Studio and leave you in good hands with this video. Like anything else, folks, we're here to simply go back to the basics. Take care, everybody, and I will catch you in the next video.